One of the most important things that you'll run across in an economics class is looking at how price changes of goods will change the decisions of consumers to buy different goods, or if there's a change in the income of a consumer, how does that change how much they buy? And the tool that we use to analyze questions like that is a combination of a budget constraint and indifference curves. Now, in a separate video, we'll talk about how these interact together. But what I want to do in this video is to talk about how the budget constraint by itself is affected by changes in two things. One, changes in the prices of the goods that the consumer buys, or changes in the income that the consumer has to spend on the two goods. So let's imagine a consumer that has $100 worth of income. The price of X is $4, the price of Y is $2, so that the relative price of X is 2Y for every X. If I buy a unit of X, I take $4. I could have used that to purchase Y, 2 units of Y. So the relative price, 2Y per X to start with. And we have an associated budget constraint. Okay, got X on this axis, Y on that axis. If the consumer only buys Y, they've got $100, it's $2 for every Y. They could conceivably buy 50Y, or at $4 per X, with $100, they can possibly get 50X or some combination in between. So that's the budget constraint that the consumer faces originally. Again, what they finally decide to consume is going to depend on the tastes represented by the indifference curve, but we're setting that aside for now. And I want to see how this budget constraint changes if some of the underlying variables change. So, for example, let's let the price of Y now be equal to $4 per Y. Let the price of Y go up. Now, a couple of things to note. One is that the relative price of X is now 1Y for every X. That is that Y now costs the same thing as X. It was $2, now it's $4, the same as X. How does that change the budget constraint? If the price of Y was $2, they could buy 50Y. Now they can only buy 25Y if they only buy that good. And the budget constraint rotates down. With that same level of income and an unchanged price for X, the increase in the price of Y will essentially contract the budget constraint. This red line now reflects the diminished effective income, if you will, because the price of Y went up. The slope of this line, let me write this a little more legibly. The slope of this new budget constraint is 1Y for every X. It's the rise over the run, okay? The second scenario, let's say instead of the price of Y going to $4, let's let the price of X go to $2. So we're going back to the original situation and changing the price of X. Now, a couple of things to note here. Px over Py is, once again, 1y for every X. The price of X is $2. The price of Y is $2. So the trade-off between Y and X is the same as under the first scenario. But the impact on the budget constraint is very different. What we have is that you can still buy 50 units of X, as under the original situation. At the price of X equal to $2, you can now buy 50X. Now, a couple of things to note about this. So both of these red lines have the same slope, but there's effectively different levels of income because one involves the increase in the price of Y, which diminishes consumers' ability to buy, and the other effectively increases the ability to buy because the price of X went down. The trade-off is the same. You have the same slope of the two budget constraints, but we'll see that the effect on consumers can be quite different because one of them reduces your effective income and the other one increases it. Okay? So let's erase this. Draw the initial situation again. 50y or 25x, okay, again with the original prices. And let's let scenario 3 be an increase in income to $200, keeping the prices the same. Now this turns out to be, really quite easy. An increase in the income, holding prices constant. Okay, let me be very explicit about that. Doesn't change the relative prices, but expands the income. Get this out of the way. Now with your income, you can buy 100y or 50x or some combination in between. So this income shifts out as the budget shifts out if your income goes up, holding prices constant. So depending on the situation, you will sometimes analyze consumer behavior when relative prices change, sometimes when income changes, and those have, similar but not identical effects. But it really goes down to understanding what the shape of the budget constraint, what the slope is, what the intercept is, and how those shift or rotate. And this will come up in any number of different scenarios.